Another amazing show.
I'm ready.
Oh, can you believe our guest?
Can you believe what he's going to talk about?
No, it's going to be
Queen V, Empress. Time to sweep.
Hope you're ready.
Welcome to another show of S.W.E.E.P, Sisters with Purpose, who educate and empower with purpose. I'm your host, Queen V.
And I'm Empress.
How are you doing?
Oh, honey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm ready to start this show. We are on part 2 of Daddies Cry to Death, Divorce, and Denial. We promised you 3 parts. But one of our daddies wasn't quite ready, so we're going to combine divorce and denial today.
That's good.
But I think it's still going to be a pretty good show.
I do too, because even though that other daddy decided, sometimes everybody's not ready to tell their story, and that's okay. But this guest is going down.
Yes, he's actually still going through it, and he's willing to discuss what's going on.
Divorce is hard.
It is, especially with children.
It's even worse with children. It's so horrible. But you know, publicly, I think about the divorces, the huge divorces that are going through in our Underneath the Dirt segment. We have to talk about Robin Thicke and Paula Patton.
Heartbreaker.
Oh, I was so hurt. I was so hurt because what you see is the happiness and you don't see the struggles.
Right.
They have children and they're going through a very public, very horrible divorce. I'm sure there's custody battles and they're going back and forth, and I'm not going to even begin to talk about the cheating that was going on, supposedly.
Speculating.
Yes. Yes, that Robin Thicke and Paula Patton, and then there's Deion Sanders and Pilar.
And that is a very public and active divorce.
Right, at this very moment. And when I think about divorce, it is one of the most heartbreaking things for children, because it's not just the 2 people who are married who are going through that. The children actually get divorced also
splitting their lives. You're splitting your children in 2 almost.
In 2.
When you're arguing like that.
And so either you can determine to be a good co-parent, y'all can co-parent, or it could be ugly and your children suffer for that also.
And that's the worst part. It's like you're being selfish. You want what you want, and you say you're doing it for your kids, but they're suffering horribly when you're acting like that, especially in public. It's bad enough to live it at home.
But the world is seeing it now. Everybody is seeing it, and then your children are suffering the effects and all the aftermath of what is going on. They have to go to school like that. Whatever, if they're in extracurricular activities, they have to go with that. And then people are talking. Their peers are talking about this very public divorce. And that is what's horrible. And to think that you have these things that are going on, and this is public, but privately, I think that it's even worse.
Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of resentment there. But today,
yes, ma'am,
we have an amazing young man named Nathaniel Singleton. He's an assistant principal in one of the local middle schools here in Dallas. And he's divorced and has a very young son and is willing to come on the show today and talk about what's going on. So we'll see you in Sweeping It Up. Nathaniel Singleton was born in Jamaica, Queens, New York in 1973. He's a graduate of the Bayard Rustin High School for the Humanities and continued his education at Howard University, California State University, San Bernardino, received his bachelor's in economics at the University of North Texas in 2001, and his master's in education administration from Lamar University in 2010. In 2002, Nathaniel began his career in education at the elementary school level in Fort Worth Independent School District as a substitute teacher where he was offered a long-term teaching position. He completed the E.P Alternative Certification Program to attain his teaching credentials and moved to the Dallas Independent School District in 2004. Mr. Singleton is currently working in administration as an assistant principal in a local DISD middle school.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's start sweeping. Welcome our guest, Nathaniel Singleton. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, sis. How about you?
Oh, I'm great. We're glad to have you.
Super excited.
You are our segment of our divorce segment, and from what you've told us when we've talked to you before, is that it was a really difficult time for you. You want to tell us your story just a little bit?
Yeah. Me and my wife ended up getting a divorce. It didn't work out. There was a lot of things that happened, and through that divorce, my son is now going in between two households, and you have to go to court. You have to go through all of the, into just everything that you have to do with getting a divorce and work all of those things out, and now I'm still dealing with the after effects and the backlash of having a divorce.
How long ago was that?
Divorce, it was November 13th, 2013 is when it was finalized.
Okay.
So this was last November, right before Thanksgiving.
How old is your son?
He's 3.5 years old.
So he's young going through this.
Okay. Okay. How do you think that your divorce, even though he's 3, do you see any effects of your divorce for yourself?
Oh, definitely. He, when my son first came here, even before, when my wife at the time was pregnant, I came home every day, spoke to her womb every day, ever since I knew that she was pregnant. Always spoke to him as he was a young man, always talked to him every single day. So my routine was come home, talk to him, come home, talk to him, come home, talk to him. And it was always make sure he was eating the right foods, make sure that we were, there was always laughter. There was never any issues during her pregnancy on my part that I saw. Now, she may have a different, perspective, but for me, I just was doing what was supposed to be done for him. And once he was born, that environment was pretty much the same way until we moved out and got into the house. And we were living in an apartment at the time, so there was always laughter. We were always together, and he saw us together. So he saw us together, and he was happy. And that was up to about 9 months, and that's where we ended up being separated. Where I didn't see my son from 9 months until he was 1 year old. And after seeing him every single day from conception up until 9 months, and then not seeing him for 3 months, that took a definite toll on me, and that caused me to lose a lot of respect for his mother as far as parenting, because I didn't do anything to our son. So why are you keeping him away from me? He has to suffer because of what, and that was something that really to this day I just don't understand, and that's just something I could see it in him. And even now that I had to go through visitation, we were going back and forth and going up and meet at North Park Mall, and then having somebody else go up to her and get him and then put him in the car, and then now he's getting put in the car, and then now he's coming with me, and then then he has to come back, and then he's sitting down, and you can see that he and that was for a while. And then once I got through everything, I tried to do a reconciliation with him. I went back to him and said, look, we need to make this work.
Right.
So we started to try and work, and you could see that he was so happy during that time. I have pictures of him for his second birthday, where he was literally you could just see the smile, how happy he was, because his mother and his father were in the same environment, and they were together. And in my childhood, I never saw a picture of my mother and father together. I never saw them smile. I never saw any of that. So I know that that's real for him. So that's one way that it impacts him. Up till now, he actually he cries, and he'll say, Daddy, I'll be looking at him, and we'll be driving home, because in November we divorced, and now she went up to Plano where she's living, and so I have to drive up to Plano to get him, and then come back down the car, and I'll just be looking at him, be looking out the window, and I'll be like, "What's wrong, big man?" He'll be like, "I want mommy and daddy." And he's saying this at, you know, 2 years old.
Right.
I'm talking about to the point where he actually, like, he'll cry. Like, he's cried several times. Like, "I want mommy and daddy." And I pull the car over, and he'll climb up in the front and give me a hug. And I'll be like, "I know, big man, I can't make your mother come back. Like, I can't make that happen. I can ask, but I can't make, you know, daddy is here, you have mommy there." And I just try to put it in that context. And I try not to throw her under the bus with it. But,
Right.
you know, I just try to say, "Look, you have your daddy here. I'm here. I know what you want. I know what you want." You know, and I've made sure. But he cries. I mean, you can see that he, even now, if you ask him what he wants, you know, he'll say it. And everybody was like, "Oh, he's a child. He'll get over it. They don't remember." No, he remembers. He knows he wants his mother and his father. He knows he deserves his mother and his father, and he knows he's happy. Mostly when he's with his mother and his father.
Right.
That's when he's the most happy.
Even at 3, he remembers that.
He knows. He knows. He remembers the happiest, and he says, "Daddy is different." Like he says this, he says these things, and he's 3.5 years old.
That's heartbreaking. So you talked about you didn't have that. So you think that maybe your drive at some of the things, the way you go out of your way to make sure he's good, because you didn't have a father figure in your life?
Yeah, I mean, but when my son is 4 years old, I would have spent more time with my son than my father spent with me my entire life.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I don't have, but even as a child, just like my son know he wants mommy and daddy, I knew that I was supposed to have a father that was there stabilizing my life. And that caused me to have resentment towards other men growing up, because, you know, my father, who are you talking to? Like, why are you telling me something? You know, and then I only had women that was mostly there, my grandmother, my aunts, and other people that was around raising my mother, you know, that was actually dealing with me. And from a discipline standpoint, I didn't get the discipline. I was overexposed to the emotions of the females that I was around, so I didn't really learn at an early age how to be like, that's a female's emotions. Let me weed this to the side. She's really saying this. These emotions, I don't need to deal with. But that caused me at one point to just be so open that every time the emotion came, it would cause me to be emotional about it, which caused me to not even be able to function right as a young man, because anytime a man came to charge me up with that, it was an automatic defense that came up because of it.
Right,
so it definitely plays into why I want to do so much for, you know, our son. Is because of what I didn't have. Those are the things that I make sure that I do.
How does how you say that the divorce, you see the negative, are there any positive things that you see from your son?
I can't really, I mean, I don't, only thing I could assume is that his mother, you know, she, maybe she's in a better place so that she can provide better for him. You know, I can't really speak to that because our communication is not really, I don't receive as much communication as I give.
Why
you know,
is that?
I think it's because, you know, she's not really, I think she feels that she doesn't need to depend on me as the father of her son for whatever. So, you know, she's got a person that she's dealing with now. She tries to deal with it, but when I charge up about certain things, and you know, there's more history involved in what went on between us, but I think from the point now, we never really got to a point where, as co-parents or as friends, that she understood how to relate to me as a man, and I didn't really know who she was. So now that all it is, this other damage and baggage that goes along with it, I can't, you know, I'm trying to tell you about things that I've experienced, seeing my single mother, my mom's raised me as a single mother, and then trying to give you advice, and then trying to get communication, and trying to make sure that I'm available, which I've always been, but because of what has happened, now it's like, well, oh, we're divorced, so I don't need to depend on you, and I don't need, you don't, you know, I can let our son stay with whoever I want to. I don't have to run it through you. And that's not my philosophy. So I think what it really comes down to, like I said, is we didn't really know each other well enough. So my philosophy is family first, always, and then extracurricular. You know,
take care of home.
Yeah, like my son just had Christmas this morning because I have him all this week and he got to go with his mother on the 28th, and then he'll be with her until New Year's, and I won't see him again. Now, why would I let him open up his presents on the 25th, and then he got 2 days to play with him, and he got to go? Now you open them up now. Santa Claus came last night. You play with these toys all this time. I don't need nothing. He's good. He's happy. I don't have to go nowhere. It's about him. My life, what I want to do is over, and I think for her, she's still trying to establish herself in a career, so it's more about establishing herself and then less about the family part, even from a co-parenting standpoint.
So there's a lack of communication. Is there, what type of visitation? Are you on child support? And tell me the effects of that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, she sent me a text message the other day because, you know, I kind of gave her my son got in the car with me 2 weeks ago, and he was like, Des picked me up today, Daddy. And it's the same person that she been talking about ever since we kind of split up. And, you know, he's a friend, but now this is my partner, and now this is who I am, and I can depend on him. Cool. But what she said is that, what he said is that, you know, he picked me up. And I said, well, was your mother, you know, your mother with you? No. So I sent her a text message like, I'm going up there tomorrow to take this person off the contacts, you know, to pick up our son, because that's not supposed to happen. There's two things in our decree that I made sure that I wanted to have. One was a geographic restriction, like no passports without permission, because her people are from Ghana, and I'm not, you know, I don't want my son leaving out the country. And the other one was right of first refusal, which is anytime he's not in her immediate care, and he's not going to be in her care, then I'm supposed to be notified, hey, I'm not going to have our son. I got to do something. I'm not going to have our son. You going to get him, or can I leave him with Des or Grandma or whoever, which is what's supposed to be going on.
Let me know.
Anyway, like you, I'm the father, you the mother. If I'm not going to be with him, yo, I got to go do something. You going to be able to get him or no? If not, he's going to be with, you cool with that? All right, well then I'll leave him with, all right, no problem. That's just what seems like should be
common courtesy.
Common courtesy. But that's not what happens. And so we have joint custody, but I pay full child support. So that's another, you know, which from a, you know, if we gonna be joint, then be joint.
Right.
You take care of money with you, I'll take care of money with me. You know, get your hand out my pocket, and whatever we need, now we can pay half on something, and I can respect you for respecting me as a man. But putting me on child support when I've never done nothing but pay every bill. She never paid a bill for the house, never paid a bill in the apartment, never paid a bill for any of those things. Now she did take the bills for the hospital bills for our son when, you know, she was pregnant, and that was something that we had agreed was going to happen anyway. But as far as living in those things, everything was taken care of. So there was never any question of me not taking care of our son. So I don't know, and I've asked her about that. I've talked about that, and but she was adamant about receiving full child support, even though we were having joint custody. And the only, you know, reason I can see for that now is because she only has a part-time job, so that she can spend her other time pursuing and trying to get her career as a poet. So now daycare is fully paid for. That's paid for. You part-time, and now you can go take trips and do all of these other things. So, but like I said, it's very it's challenging because my son has been out of state, I don't know how many times, out of the state of Texas.
Without your knowledge.
Without my knowledge. You know, my son is telling me, you know, you know, I'm sleeping in the bed, or I'm in a hotel, I'm sleeping in the bed by myself, and mommy is sleeping in the bed with Dez. Why is my 3-year-old son telling me this? Why is he seeing this? I'm not going to say that I haven't been around no females, but there's a separation of what I do for my happiness and what I do in front of our son.
Right.
He don't see me, like when you see me come up to you, I didn't give you a hug when I saw you or nothing. And even though if I saw you without my son, I'd be like, hey sis, what's going on? But when I'm with my son, none of that. You don't get that because he need to see me interacting with people regular, and that's all he sees. And then whenever I do get somebody that I'm happy with, that's something different. Right. So yeah, we got the joint custody, but full child support. And then on top of that, like I said, even with this the right of first refusal, it's like pulling teeth to get the common courtesy for for what it is as anytime she wants to speak to him, she called me right before I came in here. He taking a nap, I'll call you when he wake up. As soon as he woke up, I'll call right back, talk to your mother. I call to say prayers with our son every night, voicemail. No call back. I call the next night, voicemail. No call back. I call back over the weekend, no voicemail. You know what I'm saying? Not even a voicemail. You got me straight on, going straight like you blocked my number, and it's going straight there, and then the voicemail is full. So now it's like, why are you not conscious why are you not conscious of the fact that our son needs to have that balance? It's essential for him at this age, and he's young, and that's just, and I'm in education too. So I see the elementary and middle school children that suffer from their fathers not being involved and their parents not working together. Right. Not just the father, but mother's not involved, but parents not working together for what's best for the child. And that is what really causes me to have pain, because here I am waiting until I'm a certain age to have a child and be able to provide financially with no issues, and then now I'm in the same situation to where I call my son and I'm rolling the dice. I don't know if I'm going to speak to him or not. So I have to. The only way that I speak to my son consistently at this point right now is I call the daycare every day at 11 o'clock on Monday and Tuesday, and they know. Daddy, what's up? What's up, big man? Well, nothing. I didn't do my work. Oh, you got to get your work done. And then I talk to him, and then I say something. It might be 30 seconds, it might be a minute, sometimes it's 3 minutes. Wow. And then that'll be the only time I speak to him until tomorrow, the next day at 11 o'clock. I call that night, say prayers, leave a text message, say prayers, call him, and I won't get that back. So, but that goes back to, I don't need to depend on you. So, what is our son doing?
But it's not about you. It's about
but that's what I pray for. I can't. There's another variable besides us not knowing each other. I'm 41. She's 31, so she's younger than me. And I mean, you would think 31, you would still be a little bit more
mature.
Mature is a good word.
But there's history. There's history. But even with the history, because I've gone through things and she's going through things, I still don't deny her and never will deny her access. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care who I'm with. I don't care where I am. Our son, when you call, talk to your mother. Here you go. That's your mother. And I think he sees the difference. He knows that I call him. I tell him I call him every day. He knows that. And it's starting to take a toll on her. Yeah. Because of his behavior is being more, not only with her, but also other women at the school that he's with as well. So.
Being in education, how difficult is it for you to see? Well, we both know what it's like. We're both in middle school. You see Khaled at 3. You see your son at 3, and then you go, now I'm dealing with 13. I know that these kids are experiencing the same thing. How does that affect you when you're with him as opposed to when you're with the students at the school?
I think the big difference is that, he already has a balance with me. He has a balance. He knows who his father is. He like I tell him, I ask him right now, who's supposed to pick you up from school, Colin? Mommy and Daddy. Who's not supposed to pick you up? Dad's. Like, he knows. there's no,
I did not
specific.
mean to
there's
choke.
no, there's no,
specific.
I don't mean to choke.
but he, no, but he knows what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
And all I'm doing
Gray
is telling him what's
area.
right and wrong. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So regardless of what it is that's going on, I just tell him what's right and wrong. He knows that I'm a consistent force in his life, no matter what. So, you know, God willing, I'm gonna be there for him throughout, so that he can have that, he'll have that support, and I give him the proper support. So I speak to him every day, one way or the other, because I'm not gonna be denied access to our son, not by his mother, not by anybody. So I'm gonna make sure that I establish that. And when I go to school with these young men and young ladies who don't have their fathers in their lives, or one of the other parent, or they dealing with the same thing, I have real conversations with them. It's a young man at our school now. I talk with him, and he's saying his mother always fuss at him. His mother always is getting on him. And he don't like it. He want to go stay with his father, but his mother won't let him. Let that boy go stay with his father. Like that, you can't teach him. You can't teach him how to be a man. If I had a daughter and I was, your mother needs to teach you how to be a woman. I can show you how a man's supposed to treat you, but I can't teach you how to be a woman. Now you got to learn the best way how to be a woman from your mother, because you didn't choose your mother and father, but this is the example that you have, and this is the blueprint that you're gonna get. I'm not gonna go and put my son in front of another woman and let another woman show him what a mother's supposed to be. That's your mother. That's what God has given you. Your mother may be a junkie. Your mother may be absent. Your mother may be perfect. Your mother may be, your father may be the same thing. But this is who it is now. If she does something to hurt him or do something to hurt him,
that's different. That's
get him away.
Right.
Get him away. But if this is who you chose this child and asked to be here, and no matter what, the child is gonna instinctively, in my opinion, want to take direction from the mother and the father, even if it's not the best situation. I didn't want to take redirection from other men.
Right.
Even though they were good men. They were good men. But my father, even though he was messed up and he's still messed up, when he talked, I listened. Even though I had animosity towards him for not being present, I still do that. So it impacts me a lot. It makes me work harder with those young men. It makes me talk to them, specifically the young men, because I was a young man growing up with females. Our young men are growing up in an environment where they with females. Then they in an education system that's mostly females. So they in an elementary setting where they not seeing men talk to them. So they being effeminized because they picking up feminine traits like sucking their teeth and doing all type of stuff that they not supposed to do. But that's just, they picking this.
What they see.
That's all they see. And it's just, so I talk with them. And I try to give them example. I show them pictures of the house that I bought. I show them pictures of what I do, with our son. I show them pictures of and I sit down and talk with them and let them know that, if that's where you want to be, you're gonna have to make, you're about to be old enough where you're gonna have to make that decision. Now, if your pops don't want you, then and that's the real conversation that I have with them. If your father don't want to deal with you, then. And now you know what it is, and now you go and you try to find some examples of men where you can piece together what it is to be a man and be the best man you can be.
Do you have any advice for any women and men that have experienced something similar to what you have experienced?
Yeah, the advice is, one, make sure that get to know the people that you are having children with, because
that's important.
I didn't know the way that my son's mother is now is the way that she was before, and the way that she talks to me in text messages and the way that we interact now is how she was before, and I saw signs of that, but she wasn't like that with me, so I didn't worry about it. And I'm sure the way that I was before is the way that I have been. So get to know them, and make sure that you get to know them even after the fact, because, the child that you have, some of that child is me, some of that child is her. So some of the personality that my son has is me, and a lot of it that he has you know, it's her as well. So it's a balance. But he's a boy, so he's going to be a man. He's going to look at his father more. And the things that I didn't like about my ex-wife, because of the type of man that I was and the type how I was wired, some of that is in our son. So you divorced me. You don't want to deal with me. But guess what? It's in him. You can't get rid of him. So the same things that's in me that you couldn't deal with, some of the things are innately in him. And I remember my mother saying to me, and I didn't grow up around my father, "Who do you think you are, your father?" Well, what do you mean? I
have no
know
idea.
my father.
No, I don't
But
know.
obviously I'm doing something that my father
Right.
did that's kicking up something with you. So, ladies, if you're dealing with a young man and you see some of the attributes of the father, you learn how to deal with those things, because if you try to crush him out in that man and don't nurture the right things in him, he just gonna rebel even more. That's what I did. That's what my son is doing. And you have to learn how to deal. You don't have to learn to deal. It'd be great if you could learn to deal with the other co-parents, so you know how their personality is, so you can best serve the child. Because at this point, it's all about making sure the child has the best, right? But if you can't get to know that person on a personal level, but that sounds weird that you don't know the person having the child with on a personal level. But I'm just saying. But if you can't get that to that friendship level with that person, then you need to study them as much as you can and learn how to be able to deal with what it is that aggravates you about this man or this woman, because those attributes are also in your child. And you're going to have to deal with it either way. And you can try to make them one way or the other, but all you're going to do is end up causing the situation to be worse. Other advice I would say is, you know, don't use, and I'm saying this loosely, and it can be more specific. Don't use the system. Don't put the system in your family. Don't put somebody on child support. Go to them and ask them if they're going to do. Get some type of rapport with them. Now, if they not doing,
that's what it's there for.
That'll end up. Now, if they not doing, and you can't ask them, and you can't come to them and say what it is that you need, because being on the other side of that and knowing that I'll do anything for our son makes me feel as though, you know, I've been institutionalized, because you don't want to talk to me and ask me for money. So you just gonna put me on papers and have them come and take 20% of my check every month and then tell me you don't need to depend on me. Oh, okay.
Where they do that?
You don't need to depend on me, but you taking 20% of my paycheck every month. So you don't need to depend on me to talk to our son or to show him how to be a man, but you're gonna take my money.
Right.
That makes me feel uneasy.
Right.
And I would much rather I say, hey, his daycare is $880, your part is $440. Pay that. And if I don't pay that, then it's gonna end up catching up with me at some point.
Absolutely.
But try to make sure that you go into that person. And when I say the system, I mean just like, you know, I'm just not an advocate for having any CPS, police, child support, anything involved in my family. That's just me. Everybody is not that way, so you may say that doesn't make sense at all. I just think that once you involve those people in your life, they're there, and then it removes just like the cell phones and saving your contacts removes you having to actually remember numbers. So you don't even remember numbers anymore. Part of the social part of interacting with a co-parent is removed with the child support and with other agencies that's placed in your life, and it causes a distinct divide between what it is you're supposed to do as co-parents.
Now there's a middleman.
Yeah, there's somebody in between, and they don't care as long as the lawyers and everybody is getting money.
Yeah.
So you know, that's the other thing. I'm trying to think of what else there is. That would be just something that I would want to make sure that I tell anybody out there that's going through this. Oh, pray. Make sure that you pray. Make sure you get spiritually grounded, because I can tell you, after seeing my son every day, you know, and talking to him in the womb, and then to know purposely that people was keeping him away from me, and I ain't seen him for 3 months, I was to the point where I really was ready to hurt somebody. Like, I was really ready to be like, yo, okay, y'all, y'all saying I'm this monster, okay, I'm this bad person. I'll let me see my son. I can show my son. Why you holding my son? All right. And then I had to sit down and I read. And what I read was a book that I gave to you, that Cindy Trim, Rules of Engagement, and there was a prayer in there, and I read it. It was like, it took me like 20 minutes to read the prayer. And after I read the prayer, like all of my animosity, everything against the flesh, like just dissipated. It was gone. And ever since then, I listen to it in the morning. I make sure I stay prayed up before I go into work. I make sure I pray, you know, with my son every night, and that's why I'm trying to make sure I establish that routine with him of prayer, because it does work, and you don't have all the answers, and some things you just gotta let go and let God take care of it for you. And that's just where yeah. So the prayer is also there, and just, you know, don't be so defensive. Try to communicate. I think I've said that. Just try to.
But that's important.
Keep those lines
is very
open,
important.
and never, ever keep your child away from that other person. Always have that exposure. And probably the most important thing to reiterate again: whatever you want to do for your personal happiness, do it. Be happy. Do what you need to do to satisfy yourself mentally, spiritually, physically. If that's with another man, or if it's a man with another woman, do it. Don't let your son see it, because, you know, my personal experience, my mother had a boyfriend, then he was gone, then I came back, I seen another boyfriend, then he was gone, then came back, then I seen another boyfriend, and stumbled in and seen them in the bed, naked, then he was gone, and that caused me to lose respect for my mother. What are you doing?
Right.
Like, who is all of these men that you got around me, and where is my father?
And
why is this man talking to me? Why is this man disciplining me? Why is this man talking different to me than this man is? Why are all of these men around me? What is going on? What are you doing? And this is me, and this is why I keep totally separate what I do for my personal happiness than what I do for, you know, what I have women, in my case, do for our son. Somebody can watch him real quick. Somebody can sit there with me and see me, eat breakfast with me. No female is gonna get hugs from me, and I'm gonna be snuggled up with no type of intimate affection around our son. I'm not gonna put any female on, you know, to go up to the school and pick up our son. I'm not gonna, you know, I keep all of that separate. So whatever you do for me personally is cool, but whatever me and my son's mother are supposed to do as a responsibility for our son, I reserve for her. Now, if she doesn't want to give that to me, that's on her. But that is what you should do, because what that does now is cause additional confrontation. Like, why do I have to now go talk to this man who said, no, you're not supposed to be around my son, and tell him, dude, don't pick my son up from school no more, man. I'm telling now you causing confrontation, but maybe that's what the game plan is. I don't know. But, you know, those are the type of things that keep those things separate.
But that also causes confusion for the child. Like you were saying, you see in all these different men. You have to be careful what you let your kids see.
And if it's one, that's good. If it's one that may be one, it may be the right one. But until you sure and you married and that's the right one, because I got married, I thought I wasn't getting divorced again. And, you know, look where I am. I'm divorced. I thought I was done. So I'm for sure not bringing nobody else around.
Right.
You know, I already thought I was done. But I think that would be it. I think that pretty much sums it up. Those are all of the lessons.
What I think is interesting about what you said is that you would think that that's pretty common. You would go, that's pretty common. Communicate.
It's not.
Talk, and listening makes you go, really? There's things that you have to say to get that done. That's probably one of the most interesting things that I've heard you say. And we appreciate that.
Thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Happy.
We know it's a lot, and you're still going through it, so it's not like something you've come out of. It's something you're willing to help people through while you're still going through it. So I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will see you guys in a
All
minute.
of your fence and decking needs. Choose a professional with over 40 years experience and a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. Super Fence Company is committed to going the extra mile to ensure customer satisfaction. Call 214-454-4847 today and schedule your free estimate. Our motto is, your privacy is our priority.
Well, now it's time to mop it up. Our moment of purpose. We had a great show.
We did.
So our moment of purpose comes from Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child the way he should go. Even when he's old, he will not depart from it.
So my question is, what are you teaching your children? No matter how hard you think you're hiding it or covering it up, your children see the bitterness, the jealousy, the anger. They see that and they become that. Children become exactly who their parents show them they should be. Angry and bitter adults. Selfish adults. So think past yourself and your feelings about what happened between you and your partner and focus on the well-being of your children. I'm not saying that perfectly raised two-parent home kids don't make mistakes, but don't aid yours in making any more. Give them a firm foundation to fall on. There is already such a shortage of men that are willing and want to be a significant part in their child's lives. Don't discourage the ones that want to do right. Your feelings about your ex have nothing to do, or should have nothing to do, with the well-being of the children. Once your relationship is over, their obligation is no longer to you, but solely on the well-being of the child. So unless there are issues of safety, please don't stand in the way.
Well said, Queen V.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
It was needed. It was needed.
Oh, well, that is the end of the second part of our 3-part series of Daddies Cry 2. We hope you enjoyed it.
I hope it helped.
It should have, honey, because you did that. Well, we want you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
We're going to do amazing things.
Thank you all for the support that we've gotten thus far anyway.
And thank you for sharing. And we'll see you next time when our next daddy is ready to share with us.
I'm Queen V.
I'm Empress.
Bye.
You can never give back the time that has been taken, forsaken vows placed in place of God's expectations. Trace the now where you deny our creation, the nourishment of his Father's knowledge, wisdom, love, and education. Surrendering to the belief that you are victims in these situations. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Or they do. And are too scorned to care about your ramifications. So understanding is vacant, absent is your penetration. And only when the best part becomes the worst, our son, might this past become a revelation. The path they choose beheads a nation, leads segregation and breastfeeds a degradation. So elevation is slowed for a whole generation. And sold are the men of Satan, who are owed your explanation and grow never knowing what it means to have faith in, to behold or grasp patience. The mold of a family they crash, breaking. The souls now cast, aching, postponed. Making a home the last claim that they own, waiting. Passing trainings unknown because that's ways they were shown, but lacking is praise to your throne, so isolated personal facts raise them alone. Unatoned, not in tuned. Controlled and used, disposed to consume what they told from some dudes but will never really own. Just confused, left as clones, so we lose. And in the end must trace these bones to God's face, then face these shown was God's grace, but grace leaves when it's known and deprived because of hate. What a fate we've composed. You confide in and choose to state, to provide you with the tools man devised to negate. What is right by God's will is denied and can wait. Being in this world and not of is unwise, because they ate the forbidden. Now at home we're advised to relate like a child that gives love and decides now to take. Realizing it's work in disguise, so they play their decisions to quit like it's mine, but it ain't. That decision is fine. I describe it as fake, but that isn't my mind's true design or my place. So I pray that the enemy's thoughts lose their taste and believe that God's karma in time will replace. See, the life of a child is the worst thing to waste. The best part of us both now resides in a space, being used on a hook and some line like some bait. May the Lord spare your souls for the actions you take.